Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Gear Talk, and this time I want to show you a comparison between the Pentax 50mm lens. Before we begin, as usual, please, if you want to support the channel, put a like, subscribe and share with your friends. And if you want to do a little bit more, check out the links down there in the description of the video, and you can see where you can buy, for example, my books or my t-shirt. Books in jet fine art printing, a very nice book with everything you need to know to print with inkjet, no matter if you start from a digital file or with a scanned film. Lasting Photographs, a novel based on photography, very good reviews, and Photography, the F manual. As someone said, a must-read for every photographer. The 50mm is a great focal length. It was the standard focal length for all the 35mm camera. Is the lens that gives you the more natural, similar to your eyes, field of view. So it's a lens that you can find very cheap around because it was so common. And there are many versions. I have Pentax, a lot of Pentax, so I also have a lot of Pentax lenses. I decided to test my 50mm by Pentax, and I tested the 50mm 1.4 in the M version. That is the one that I had my first lens for my first camera. The 1.7 in the A and M version. The A version is the one that gives you the automatic setting for the aperture, and I tested the 50mm f2 still in the A version. So I did this comparison. I did two different scenery. One is just inside the studio. I just took a photo of the library, the bookshelf in front of me, and to have a subject was at the middle distance, the kind of distance that you can do a portrait or something like that. And then I tested them taking a picture outside. It was not a great day, so it's not the perfect day to test the camera, but I was waiting for better weather and it didn't arrive. But I did this test. It's nothing that is very precise, it's nothing scientific, it's just a test of the feelings and how the things go. I used this camera, the MZS, that you can see the review here, and this is absolutely fantastic and beautiful camera. So every time I have to test some lens or something, I use this because it's so precise as exposure and everything else. I left the exposure in automatic because I want to see also if the lens is giving some difference in the exposure, and there's something a little bit evident in this picture. So let's talk about the lenses. Here you can see the different lenses in sequence at all the image without zooming, and as you can see, there's not much difference that you can perceive in a screen on YouTube, but already it can be visible some different feeling of sharpness. But that was not enough for me to decide what lenses was the best one. So here you can see the center of the image at full resolution. I scanned the negative with an Imacon 848 at the max resolution, so it's really at the end a very huge file, as you can see from these details. And you can see, first of all, at max aperture. And the maximum aperture is something that you expect to see a little bit more sharpness as closer is the aperture. But I was quite really surprised. I used the 51.4 a lot of time, and really this lens used like that kind of is not the best lens. I don't know if it's just mine. I will try to compare with another lens, another 51.4, but really it's not exactly a great lens. You can see the 1.7 is much better, and by the way, I have no idea why the A version probably is a little bit more recent, or I don't know if it's just mine that is like that, but it has a little bit advantage over the M version. So the 1.7A results the better at full aperture, and you will see also at the other apertures. The 50 f2 really is an ugly lens. It's a very cheap lens. I never used it before. I got it with the camera I bought, and yeah, it's not a great lens. Even at full aperture is supposed to be an f2, so be a little bit sharper of the others, but is the worst. And you can see this maximum aperture. Second step was to take the picture at f2, so I can see all the lenses and the same aperture as wide as possible. And also here you can see that the top of the top is still the 51.7 in the A version. And 50mm 1.4 is not really, it's not really great lenses. I was really disappointed, if I have to say, because I was thinking it was a very good lens, but I never used it that much. I didn't like the focal length, I didn't like these things, but still I was thinking it was better than 1.7. When I tested the 1.7, I started to think, oh, probably not, and so I decided to do this comparison, and yes, the 1.7 is far superior also f2. And here you can see the f5.6, and again all is confirmed, the best, the f1.7 A version, and at f22. And this is in the center of the image. So I decided to show you the border of the image, and here you can see that at the border the 1.4 really is a terrible lens. And by the way, in this image slice that you can see in with the 1.4, taken with the 1.4, in reality is a little bit more inside, because during the scan the extreme border of the negative was cut out. So it's not even that far off the corner, but you can see that still the best is the 1.7. The f2, it's incredible ugly, and it drops a lot of vignetting, so it's very dark in the corner, and also closing down the lenses, the things don't change. And yes, for sure, when you go f22 things become a little better, but not that much. So this is a medium field. I decided I want something that is kind of infinite, far in the distance, to see if the lens have a different attitude. And here you can see something that was out of my window and taken with those lenses. The 1.4, we can see just looking at the image, the full size image. Wow, that's bad. The 1.7 is better, and the f2 is kind of ugly. And you can see here the details 100%, and I decided to show you just the full aperture, because all the other things confirm exactly the full aperture measurement, the full aperture test, and there's no reason to repeat the things that I already did with the library, and it confirms exactly the same thing. So at the end of the game, the 50 1.4, the M version that I have, at least not good at all. I will test this 50, and I just got this, so I want to test this 50 in the A version and see if it's better or not. I already feel that there's something wrong with the focus ring, but I will fix it and try to do a comparison with the A version and the M version. But the best 50 of all is the 1.7 in the A version. But there's another thing, that when I was aside, I had still 5 or 6 frames to take in the roll. I didn't want to wait too much to develop and see this test, so I decided to put on this nice lens that is the 55 1.8, and I tried this lens in the M42 version on a Spotmatic, and you can see here the project I did with the camera, and I was, wow, very surprised how good it was. And so when I did this aside, I was thinking, yeah, this is far superior to the normal 50 millimeters. And I took the shot, and now I'm testing the 55 1.8 by itself. I'm actually doing a test right now with the 1.8, the 55 1.8 on my MZS camera, and I'm doing the test with this film. So next videos there will be, I will be talking about the Ferragna P30 or P30, since it's Italian, and I will talk about this, and I will talk about the Ferragna Museum and these kind of things. So, and I will test, I will tell you what I feel of the 55 1.8 that I use just for a project, and I want to know better this lens, because I think for now my feeling is that this is the winner of all normal lenses, and that 5 millimeters more is not a problem at all. So I hope you enjoyed this test. Again, it's nothing scientific, it's not an MTF test on these kind of things. There can be a little elements that are influenced the test. The focus can be not that precise, or you see in some time that the exposure changes a little. Some lenses are kind of more overexposed more or less, and I don't know, that probably is the alignment between the aperture and the lever that opens and closes the aperture, that can be kind of not perfectly aligned, so the aperture results a little bit bigger than it's supposed to be, and these kind of things. So it's not a scientific test, but I have to say that after this, if you want a Pentax 50mm, go with the 1.7 in the A version, and that's for me is the right choice. The 1.4, again, I don't know if it's just my lens or the M version. I will test with the A version here, but the 1.4 is not that, yeah, you gain a little bit in luminosity, but you lose a lot of sharpness and a lot of precision. So, and I suppose I did the test in black and white, but I suppose some problems, especially in the border, are connected with color diffraction and this kind of thing. So I hope you enjoyed this not scientific test, and if you have questions or comments, please write down, and I'm glad to answer and see your comment and have your feedback. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.